Right, it had
Um,
appellate jurisdiction, right.
right, appellate jurisdiction. But the issue is that Constantinople was granted actually more power than Rome in Canon 9, where it states that you're able to make appeals to the See of Constantinople. So the point that I'm making here is that the extent of why Rome was first in honor was because in the canons of Sardica he was granted specific authority and privilege, right, in to be appealed to, and then. Thirdly, I would state that the Canon 6 of Nicaea is not in your favor because it equates Rome's jurisdiction with Alexandria's jurisdiction.
No, it actually doesn't. In order to assume that, you have to interpret it in a way in which it clearly doesn't from a plain reading of the text. And so it doesn't itself invoke territorial jurisdiction to Rome. In fact, it's pretty silent on the issue, which is actually a stronger claim that what was acknowledged prior to was that Rome itself had universal jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Because
nobody
that's
recognized
precisely
that.
what it's appealed to. Like from the plain reading of the text, unless like if you end up presupposing that it means to say universal jurisdiction, then you're going to end up strawmanning the Roman Catholic
The issue
position on
is
this.
that the common papist apology that you give is that, oh well, these canons aren't talking about the Bishop of Rome. You see, they're just talking about bishops in general, right? And that's the issue I
No,
have is that you
I understand. I
presuppose,
understand there are Roman Catholics that have kind of overlooked this.
but you
But
presuppose
if you
your
do,
entire worldview onto the canons. That's an
okay,
issue.
so do you agree that the canons themselves, right, when it comes to any sort of ecumenical council, like the whole purpose and nature of it is to
Hmm.
define universal sets of doctrine or propositions, correct?
Yep.
So they wouldn't have to be reinterpreted with additional historical or scriptural content, correct?
Yep.
So one could, from a plain reading of the text and with the use of reason, be able to establish what is a more plausible interpretation of any of the canons that have been declared in the first
Yes.
seven
Yes.
ecumenical. Right.
100%.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. But
okay.
we can understand this very clearly. But what I think that papists tend to forget is that the head and the primate of the synod cannot do anything without the consent of the rest. This is all of
I
what you
agree
forget.
with that. I agree with
Okay.
that, and the Declaration of Vatican II does not contradict this at all. Like I am
No,
actually
it
for a
does.
very no, it does not. It's
Yes,
very
Vatican
limited.
Vatican One
It says that it has to be ex cathedra with the bishops, with the church, with the ecclesiae. It can't be apart from
Yeah,
the ecclesiae. So the right
it has
so
to be with
in
the
one
bishops. Just because it has to be with the bishops does
correct.
not mean that the bishop has any authority whatsoever. The bishop's vote doesn't matter within these councils. I hope you know that. It's ultimately dependent upon the pope. If you
Well,
okay, here,
so
look.
I mean I mean if you want to skip ahead and say at least in the Roman Catholic system, the pope has to ratify the council. Right, but this is an issue of like I don't think papal infallibility is supposed to be interpreted as like a static power. You
That's
get
not
what I
how I'm
mean? It doesn't
interpreting that.
violate the character because
Okay,
Peter,
one
for
second.
example, wasn't a bishop by himself. You see what I mean? He wasn't like a solo apostle. It was like
I,
literally within the context, when Jesus was alone with his apostles and then he singled Peter out. Sorry,
okay, have you read Status Cognitum?
I have not.
Okay. I really hope you read that because you will get a totally different idea. It literally says that the Pope's decision is the only decision that actually matters, and that the other bishops, even if they go against the Pope, will be wrong inherently. So the point is that in Status Cognitum, it clearly teaches against synodality and teaches that this is a
I'm
supreme pastor
yeah.
of the universal church in which all of the church was entrusted to him and all the judgment was entrusted to him, and that there is none but none that should not subject himself to his judgment on any issue. I mean, it's very, very clear. This is not taught in the first millennium church anywhere. That the only extent of Rome's jurisdiction was based in the canons of Sardica, which was the ability to make an appeal to if you had a jurisdictional dispute. But that same authority was granted to Constantinople in the Council of Chalcedon, Canon 9. right? And if you read Canon 28 of Chalcedon, the bishops tried to give the exact same authority and privileges of Constantinople, forgive me, of old Rome to New Rome, of
To
Rome to
to
Constantinople.
Constantinople, I understand because
Yeah.
it said that, right. I understand this, but it
Okay.
wouldn't be able to do that and be consistent with canon number 6 unless, again, by canon number 6, the most plausible interpretation that the universal jurisdiction was actually what was implied or understood. It makes a
Okay.
stronger
Right.
claim if it doesn't have to be spoken of, especially in the case where there's no other context provided that it only applied to a territorial jurisdiction of Rome.
Right. But the
That's the
issue
thing.
is that I would, okay, so
Like, I
there
can grant
are,
that de
well,
facto they may not
okay.
have been as clear, right? Maybe it was a work in progress. They didn't understand, right, to the extent of which, like, the church was going to expand. There could have been cognitive reasons for this. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not outside that possibility, right? The
The
known
issue
world for
is
them is
that
very limited in the first place.
The Easterners did not recognize Pope Saint Leo's supreme judgment and supreme pastoral care, supposedly that you affirm. And if you understand
They
this,
accepted the tome
um,
of Leo.
one second,
Not everybody wrote back and responded with some embellishment, but they included it within the canon or within the
12,
council.
12
They
Egyptian
canonized
bishops,
it in the Council of
12,
Chalcedon. That's the important
12,
thing. Now,
12
here's the thing:
Egyptian
apophatic.
bishops
You're right, right. But if the Holy Spirit is really a
clearly,
part of these councils, apophatic, then the fact remains it's still in there.
as I said, if you, okay, all right, Theodoret, okay, appealed to Pope Saint Leo because he was like, dude, I'm not a monophysite anymore. I'm under suspicion of my writings being monophysite, etc. Pope St. Leo and his legates investigated him and declared that he be reinstated immediately. He told all the rest of the bishops, you reinstate him immediately now. You know what happened? The Eastern bishops, they were like, fuck that. We're going to trial him ourselves. We don't care. I don't care about your judgment. They didn't trust Pope St. Leo for
Yeah,
a
but you have
damn
cases
thing.
with Apollinarius, like even earlier in, like, I forgot which diocese it was, where you had that, like, one presbyter or something like that that
Mhm.
was or laicized not just once but twice by his bishopric, and Rome reinstituted him like twice.
You know that
Now, I'm
Constantinople
not
has
trying to
done.
justify
Mhm,
whether the Rome should have done
mhm.
that or not, but clearly that local synod, right, still acknowledged the Pope's authority, Pope's jurisdiction in that
You understand
case.
that Constantinople had the exact same authority, right? And that we have multiple examples within history of Constantinople doing
I'm
the
not
exact
denying
same
that the
thing.
council, right, right. I mean, my particular view myself is that, like, I don't think when it comes between the ecumenical council or the pope, I think it's a false dichotomy to assume that the ecumenical council has to hold some authoritative weight. Clearly it can be shown, right, that the pope's quote unquote presence was always a part of every single ecumenical council, whether he was not there presently or ratified it afterwards.
Actually, whether the Pope ratified a canon or not, the Easterners really didn't care. If you read the Council of like the Acts of Chalcedon and the Acts of Trullo, at the Council of Chalcedon, Canon
He
28.
still had legates there. and
Wait,
and
wait,
and
one
it's
second, one
literally a
second.
part of the
I,
sessions where
one
they
second,
literally ask, what are the pope's representatives doing
one
here,
second,
and
one second.
they accepted the letter that was attached with them.
One second. So at Canon 28, right, the legates, uh, and I have the full acts here. The legates left the room at Canon 28 because they thought that if they would leave the room, that basically they don't have to approve of the canon. And then it said Constantinople, you are insulting Rome, you're violating Canon 6 of Nicaea, and you're depriving Antioch of its proper authority by giving it all to yourself and stuff like that. And then Constantinople was like, "How about you other bishops, other than the legates? Do the other bishops agree?" And all bishops agreed with Constantinople, every single one of them, every single one. And what happened was the papal legates were like biting their tongue, like pissed at the Canon 28. So they were like, "You're gonna hear from Pope Saint Leo about this." Pope Saint Leo got word, and he had to beg. It says that he literally cried. He cried writing the letter because he was begging them not to implement the canon, right? and he implored them not to. If he was the real supreme pastor and universal judge, it would have been a lot more
No, no, no,
easier to
right,
see
right,
this
right, right. But
subject and
here's the
subordinate.
thing. It's always the case that that subsequent patriarchs can always disobey the Pope. That's not what establishes or guarantees papal jurisdiction.
Yes, it
Just
does
like no,
because
no, it does not.
even
No, it does
even
not.
though
Do you know
even
why?
though
Because their authority is established prior by universal jurisdiction of the Pope in canon number 6 of Nicaea.
no, canon
It's
number
simple
six
as
does
that. You see,
not
here's like
teach
this. It's
universal
it's just by the
jurisdiction,
same
Tard.
no.
It
So
doesn't teach universal
apophatic.
jurisdiction
It's the
whatsoever.
same
You have to
principle
read
that's
into it.
operative asymmetrically by the authority and creative will of
Abysmo,
God,
you
right?
have to presuppose that canon 6 is teaching
God is
universal
not responsible
jurisdiction
for the
or
every
that it's
single
ranked
individual
one
agency of
second.
his actors or those who claim to act in his name. If
Apart from canon
prior
6, where
if
does it teach
prior
universal jurisdiction?
patriarchs that are part of subsequent ecumenical councils decide to be disobedient to what was established earlier,
As I said, the
that's part of the historical reason
canon
why we had the
6,
schism in the first
canon
place.
6 does not prove universal jurisdiction. You can't even tell
It
me without
does. That's
presuppose.
the
No, it does
most
not. You
plausible
cannot tell me
interpretation
without
of it.
you cannot tell me without presupposing it. You cannot argue for it because you assume that Rome's rank
No,
specifically is a
it's
rank
the
of
most
jurisdiction.
plausible interpretation
No,
logically.
it's not.
You don't
No, it's
have to
not.
presuppose anything because it's the most
Considering the
probable.
canons of
Then
Sardica,
what
which
is
makes
the
it very clear
alternative?
the extent of
Apophatic.
Rome's authority,
Apophatic. Before you shift
this
the
is
goalpost,
bullshit. See, this is
then
why
then then
papism is
provide
bullshit.
me the authentic interpretation according to you. What is it?
No, no, no. That's begging the question,
No,
right?
it's
That's a
not
foul.
begging the question at
Yeah,
all.
goalpost
It
shifting,
is not
shifting the
begging the
goalpost,
question at all
shifting the
because
goalpost,
it's
shifting the goalpost.
it is not shifting the
Because
goalpost at all,
okay,
sir.
okay. So how is Canon 6 specifically first among jurisdictions,
If
right?
it's
And the
silent,
ranking is
it's
based
a
upon
stronger
jurisdiction and
claim,
not
apophatic.
honorary. How
If
is it
it
not
doesn't have to
honorary?
be mentioned,
How is it not
if it
honorary?
doesn't have
How
to
is
be
it not
mentioned, it's a stronger
honorary?
claim.
How is it not honorary? Can you justify that?
Well,
With
how are
any
you
church father?
establishing that it's honorary? You're
I'm
shifting the
asking you, how do
goalpost.
you justify
No,
its
you're
honor? You're the one
creating an
making the papal
artificial distinction.
claims. You're the one making
No,
the papal claims.
you're
You're
creating
the one.
a virtual
See,
distinction where it
all of
doesn't
you
exist.
papists, all of
No,
you
this
papists just presuppose your
honorific
own shit in the
distinction is just a
document.
virtual
You don't
distinction.
actually argue
It's a
for it.
virtual distinction.
You don't actually argue for this shit in the canons.
Honorific
You
is
just
a virtual
presuppose it.
distinction.
You just
It's not what
presuppose it. You
logically
just
follows
presuppose
from
it. You just
plain reading and
presuppose it. You just
interpretation of canon
presuppose
number
it.
6.
You just presuppose it.
Yeah,
You presuppose your
you're
papal system into every canon that
you're
contradicts
you're a
your
crypto
belief.
precept.
And
You're a crypto
uh,
precept.
yeah, you're the dumb
You're
precept.
no no
You're
no
a dumb precept.
you're a
You're a
tag
dumb
argument. You're a
precept.
diorite.
You're a dumb
You're a
precept.
diorite.
You're a diorite. Yeah, the Canon 2 of Constantinople, Canon 5, 8, 10, 19 of Chalcedon, Canon 20, 21 of Trullo, Canon 10 of Nicaea 2, Canon 1, 15, 33, 34, 35 of the Apostolic Canons. You all have to interpret papalism into it. Otherwise, your entire system is refuted. A Roman professor actually did an entire commentary on the canons. And when he came across Apostolic Canon 34 and 35 and the other canons I just listed, he thought that they were all forgeries because they posited a threat to the Bishop of Rome's authority, and it was so serious that he had the people investigate whether these were forgeries or not because he said that
I
Vatican I
mean,
had to be
if I was going to
reversed if they
steelman
were
your
not referring
position,
to
a
it.
stronger claim could be made in the case of Pope Vigilius.
Yeah, you just gotta interpret your system into it. That's all you do.
Right, but the fact of the matter remains that Vigilius appealed to the church fathers and they removed the relevant quote unquote um requirement or whatever proposition from the council before it was ratified. So
Yeah, Satis
they still
asserts that Pope
recognize that
had
the
jury
Pope had
veto,
to
right?
ratify the council
Oh,
even
but
in
he
the
had
time of
jury divino.
Vigilius.
He had jury divino, right?
Like, I think you're strong. I think you're just if you're saying that we have to read in this papalism, it's just going to require a clarification of what you mean by papalism, and it seems to be different from how Vatican I defines it.
You have to read into Satis Cognitum's view. right? Because that is your actual official document for Vatican I is Status Cognitum. You believe that the Pope has a unique authority as the supreme pastor and judge of the entire church at all times, at every place, and the supreme pastor of the entire universe, and that
Only
he
in
can
regards
teach
to
in
faith
any
and
other,
morals,
he
ex
can teach,
cathedra with the
he can,
church.
well, no, not even ex cathedra, by the way. He
It
can
has to be ex
teach,
cathedra.
Lumen
It
Gentium
has to be
disagrees.
from the office. It can't be from his
Lumen Gentium
personal
disagrees.
ability.
Lumen Gentium disagrees.
Like this
But if you
already, what is presupposed in papal authority is
Lumen Gentium
synodality.
disagrees. If you presuppose synodality, then you're admitting our position.
No, no, we're not. We're more.
Yes, we
What we're
are.
saying is
In
our
Satis
position is more
Cognitum,
synodal than yours. That's the
no,
point.
in
You
Satis
can't have a
Cognitum, it
synodal
states that it's
council.
not
You can't
synodal.
have a synodal
Synodal.
council with an ultimate tribunal authority. That's it.
Actually,
Because
I
that's
agree.
precisely the foundation by which
No
the
one
other
disagrees.
tribunals are
No one
established,
disagrees. No
whether
one
they're
disagrees.
metropolitan or whether they're diocesan.
No one disagrees that for there to be a synod, there needs to be a primate or a head of the synod.
Correct.
But
And
one
where
second.
do they get their authority and justification for their authority
Okay,
from?
who is the
From
head of the
literally
council?
from the universal jurisdiction of Rome. That's
Who
it.
is the head of that? Yeah, universal jurisdiction does not equal like primate synod. But the point is that if you
That doesn't
read
mean no. So the
who was the
principle of
head of the Council of Constantinople, who was the head of the Council of
subsidiarity is
Constantinople, who was the
operative.
head of the
No
Council of
one is rejecting
Constantinople,
that because that's going to
who
violate the
was the
synodal
head at
character.
the Council of
It's going to
Constantinople?
deny the
Answer the
synodal
fucking
character
question.
of the
Who was the
church of the
head at the Council
ecclesiate.
of Constantinople?
That's already a given apophatic
Who was the head?
of
Answer the
what?
question. Of the Council of Constantinople, who was the head?
Uh, I forgot which emperor. I don't know. Justinian? I don't
No,
remember.
no. It was Saint Meletius of Antioch. Justinian
Oh,
was over Nicaea 1.
okay.
So Saint Meletius of Antioch died out of communion with Rome and closed the council
I
out
mean,
of
this is
communion with
not a
Rome.
very good example because you know the
And he was the
patriarch was
head.
was also condemned along with Honorius.
One second,
Like this is
and
ridiculous, man.
Saint
No,
Meletius
this
of
is just
Antioch,
you're just special
Saint
pleading.
Melit, yeah, yeah. See, look at it,
You're
look
just
at it. You're
special
coping.
pleading.
You're just coping. You're coping.
No, no, it's
Saint
special pleading.
Meletius of Antioch was the head of the Council of Constantinople and was the primate of that synod. Even though it was declared ecumenical, it was made out of communion with Rome, and the council was closed out of communion with Rome. I mean, isn't that just hilarious? And it was actually affirmed at the Council of Ephesus, which recites the Constantinopolitan Creed, even
Listen,
though the popes hadn't signed
no
off
one
on it,
is
nor had they
saying right,
recognized
but
it.
no one is saying that the council literally had to be called by Peter.
Yes, yes, you do. Satis Cognitum
No, it
states that.
doesn't, man. You take a look
Satis
at dude.
Cognitum states
Are
it.
you familiar with any of the councils
Does
that
Peter
prior
have to
to the
ratify the
Council of
canons of the
Nicaea?
council for it to be ecumenical?
Okay, so no, 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 no. Okay, so
Does
so
Peter
so
have
the
to
Council of
ratify the
Jerusalem.
council?
So hold on, hold on.
Does Peter have to?
The first Council of Jerusalem in Acts 17. Who is it called by?
Does Peter have to
No, who
actually no,
was it
Peter was
called by?
rebuked.
No,
Peter
no, no,
was
no. In
rebuked at that
Acts
council.
17,
Peter
who
was
was the
rebuked for
council called
Judaizing.
by?
Peter was rebuked for Judaizing. But the point
Correct.
is
He didn't. But no, no. But
shifting the goalposts,
that's not
shifting the
the actual
goalposts,
question, sir. The
shifting the
question is
goalposts.
who called it?
You're shifting it, dude.
No,
You're
you're
shifting it.
shifting the
You're
goalpost.
shifting goalposts. You're
You're
shifting the
literally
goalposts.
begging for fucking special pleading right now.
You are shifting the goalpost, all right? It's
Melenius is
very
just special
simple.
pleading. No one has
No, it's
actually
not.
claimed that the
No, it's
Pope
not.
literally has to call the council.
Does the Pope need to ratify it? Does he need to ratify the council for it to be ecumenical?
Correct.
Okay, he didn't ratify the council, dumbass. And it was
Uh,
still ecumenical. It was still ecumenical, and he didn't ratify
right.
it.
He did ratify it after the fact. He doesn't have to be
He
part of the
ratified it four
ratifying of at
centuries
the close of the
later.
council. That
Yes, he
doesn't
does.
matter.
His papal legates have to be there, or there needs to be an encyclical letter according to you. Yes, it does.
No, it
That's a
doesn't
lie.
matter.
That's
Dude,
a fucking lie.
encyclicals don't happen until literally the 1700s. What
No,
the hell are you talking about?
status Cognitum says that the Pope needs to write a letter, or there needs to be his legates there, or he needs to be there. Those are the three things that are necessary in your model for an ecumenical council. None of those of which were the case at the Council of Constantinople. None. Absolutely zero. Rome did not even recognize it and didn't even receive it, forgive me, until the Council of Chalcedon, right? But at the Council of Ephesus, the entire Universal Church actually affirmed the Constantinopolitan Creed and recited it. So they still affirmed Constantinople as ecumenical, even without the Pope's ratification or realization that there had even been a council, right? And it all was because the person that was over the council was Saint Meletius of Antioch, who died out of Communion of Rome and ended the council out of Communion of Rome. So it was weird to ratify a council that way. But everybody else referred to it as completely and totally ecumenical because it's the council that ratified the
I think
divinity of
you're
the Holy
reading it
Spirit.
out of context.
Uh-huh. What a bunch of
I'm
bullshit. What a
literally
bunch of
looking at
bullshit.
status
What a bunch of bullshit.
cognitum right now.
All right, have you reading Satis Cognitum?
Yeah, I'm like literally. I've already read this one before, but I haven't like
Sure,
read it deeply.
sure. By the way, all apostles had the keys, by the way. Yeah, according to St. Jerome. All apostles had the equal and same power and authority, according to St. Jerome.
It has ever been unquestionably the office of the Roman pontiffs to ratify or to reject the decrees of the councils. Leo the Great rescinded the acts of the Concilia Babulum of Ephesus. Damasus rejected those of Rimini, and Hadrian I those of Constantinople. That's true. The 28th
Yep.
Council of Chalcedon, by the very fact that it lacks the assent and approval of the Apostolic See, is admitted by all to be worthless. Rightly, therefore, has Leo X laid down in the Fifth Council of Lateran that the Roman Pontiff alone has authority over all councils.
Whoa, did you hear
Eric
that?
Ibarra
Did you hear
also,
that?
Eric Ibarra also covered this, right?
He alone has authority over all councils, yet St.
No, 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 no,
Meletius
no,
had
no,
an
no. But the
ecumenical council.
28th canon of the Council of
Hmm.
Chalcedon was that particular canon itself was not recognized.
No, so the
Like
20,
Eric
I just
Ibarra
told you that,
literally brought this
Abismo.
up in his
I just told you that,
in
Abismo.
no
I
no no
just
in
told
his
you that.
debate with
Hey,
Ubi
retard, I just
Petrus. He
told you that.
literally brought this up,
Hey, Tard, I
and at
actually
the
just
end of the
told you
day,
that.
Ubi Petrus had to concede this point.
Yeah, nobody disagrees
Because
that
you're
Pope
trying
St.
to
Leo
shift the
disagrees.
goalpost that if any one of the canons, right, in your point of view, if any one of the canons is rejected, right, while the rest of them are, then effectively it applies to the
Everybody
whole
else
council.
recognized it,
That's
though.
not
Everybody else
true.
recognized it. Everybody else recognized it. Every single other bishop recognized the Canon 28 of Chalcedon. The only one that didn't was the Pope of Rome because he was pissed, because
Of
politics, right?
course.
The point is that the reason he was pissed was not because of his supreme universal jurisdiction being like offended. It was because of the Canon 6 of
No,
Nicaea,
because the
right?
Eastern Patriarchs were disobedient.
No. Yeah, okay, listen. If the Eastern Patriarchs were so disobedient, do you not
Which is a
understand?
more
Okay,
plausible
Papa
interpretation
Francis today could
based
just
on the most
excommunicate
probable
them whenever
interpretation
the
of
fuck he
Council of
wants to.
Nicaea 6.
This is not a subordinated view, right? A subject in his head. This is not that view at all. Listen, Father Richard Price, who translated most of the Acts of Chalcedon and most of the Acts of the Lateran councils, actually says that the East never recognized papal canonicity in papal jurisdiction. And this is his position, and I trust him more than you. I'm sorry, I trust an actual scholar who is a father of the church, of your actual own church, who agrees with my position that the East never had this papal system and that it was innovative. All right, so I'm
Like,
done
papal
discussing the bullshit.
infallibility is separate from papal supremacy.
I know it's
Even
fucking
if it doesn't
different.
have to be.
Hey, nigga, I know it's different. I never said it wasn't different. I never said it wasn't different. But the issue is that he did not have universal jurisdiction. The canons clearly do
No,
not
that's
accept
literally
the
implied,
ability to
dude, in the
teach.
most plausible interpretation of
It's
Nicaea,
not
man. That's as
implied,
simple as
dude.
that. No, it's not a lie at
Okay,
all.
Father Richard Price only interprets Canon 6 as
Fuck
supremacy of
Father
honor, not
Richard
of
Price.
jurisdiction or power. You fucking tard. This is so stupid. Just read Papalism by Edward Denny. He literally destroyed your entire religion.
Are you talking about Richard Price from 1700s?
Pope's authority was always recognized. Why did it have to be
Or get
demonstrated
back.
in Vatican I?
You're not talking about Richard Price from the 17th century, right? You're talking about like the new guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Father Richard Price, the one that translated all the documents of the acts of the Council of Chalcedon and multiple other councils. Like he's the only
Yeah, I
reason that
mean,
we
here's the
can read
thing. He's
councils.
basing his opinions on the Second Council of Nicaea. This still doesn't address canon number 6. Like, I know,
Yeah, he does though. He does
no, he
address it.
doesn't.
Yes, he does. That's fucking stupid. Of course he does. That's listen, bro. You gotta read the book I sent you, right, to understand. But whatever, it's fine. I mean, there's so many other writings and books on this, right? They go over every single quote, every single apology that Eupapists give inside of Conatum was refuted by this book, 100%. Every single one, every single point, and it even goes through all the councils, the seven councils, and it shows the Pope's presence at said council. The Pope's presence himself and how he was there
He
disproves
didn't have to
his
be de
papal canonicity.
facto. Like, papal supremacy did not have to be de facto operative at every single council.
Uh huh.
Because he always had that right, or he always had papal supremacy de jure, right, or by right. Whether or not
Yeah, and there's no proof
it
of that.
doesn't
Where
have
is
to
that in the
be
canons?
it doesn't have to be executed in any sort of sense.
Wait, but
Like, that's just legalism. That's just legalism.
you agree that everybody
If
recognizes,
anything,
right?
the providence of God actually shows,
Do you
because the church
agree
can
that
function even without the Pope
do you
actually having
agree that
to literally adjudicate every single meeting.
everybody from the first millennium 100% recognized the papal jurisdiction and the papal authority and they knew of it? If so, then we would expect the pope to be operative during that time because there was a
No,
lot of
no, no, no.
times
That's just legalism. That's just
there
legalism.
was a
You're
lot of
falling into formal
times when
legalism at that
there was
point.
a lot of
No,
times
no,
when
no.
he needed to
You're
actually
making the
be there.
same propositionalistic error.
Okay, dude, if the Pope had as much
Propositions
authority as you're
cannot
talking about, the
validate
Council
or
of Nicaea would be
complete
completely
the
different.
own axiomatic premises. They cannot. Some
Okay.
axioms are just true.
Was papal authority recognized by the Arians? What about the Nestorians or the Arians? The Arians,
Dude, that's all
it,
non sequitur, man.
if the Pope's authority was the exact
I'm
same,
going to
that would have
read
been the
this, by the
best to
way. Thank you
operate
for
it.
sending it to me.
That would have been the best time to actually operate his
I
jurisdiction.
understand that, man. Like, it just doesn't happen that way.
You see
I'm
that's
not
the
trying to
issue
claim
is
that the Pope or papalism means that this motherfucker is perfect. This
no, I'm
guy's a
not
fucking
saying
moron.
I'm not saying that it means that he's perfect. It's saying that he has a specific authority that's granted to
But
him,
it doesn't have
and
to be executed.
the same authority that is exercised post schism is very different pre schism of how the Pope exercises authority. It's completely different.
No
Completely
shit,
different.
because the disobedience of the Eastern Patriarchs left kind of a trauma. No
Uh
one's
huh.
denying that it was traumatic, but it's still
Yeah. Sure.
disobedience.
Sure. 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 I mean, this is completely out of whack, dude.
No, it's just disobedience.
Yeah.
So of course, right. You're just appealing to incredulity.
Your supreme pastor was recognized at all times, but Saint Meledius held an ecumenical council outside the Pope's jurisdiction.
That's
Right.
fine.
No, it's not. And
It
not under your
is.
system. It's not.
It doesn't violate the character of synodality.
It's not under your system, and you
Listen,
know that, and you're
listen.
just coping.
If
You know that this
geographical reasons are
scenario
already in play,
does
and
not
the
support
Pope's
your papal
jurisdiction or
jurisdiction
Pope's
taught in
infallibility does not extend,
Status Cognitum,
it
and now
does
you're
not
just
extend
coping about it.
univocally to
You're
temporal
literally just
issues,
coping.
then if certain heresies or
You're
questions
coping that your
arise
papal
outside of
canonicity and
jurisdictional
papal authority was
boundaries,
disproven by the
that's valid.
multiplicity of scenarios that I just
The
gave.
soundness is what has to be validated by the Pope himself. That's
Everybody
all.
recognized the Pope's authority, but
That's
they
all it's
didn't, right?
establishing.
Oh yeah, the Pope was an operative until what, 1054? Oh, really? I wonder why. I wonder why he was an operative that way until
It's
1054.
just legalism, apophatic.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
falling into
you know what's
legalism.
legalism?
This
Supporting
is
a
crypto
system that
presuppositionalism.
was
Is
Yeah,
crypto-piso.
your papal ideas, your papal supremacy literally was to fund a political movement. That's the only reason
I'm
it
not
was
denying
instated.
that.
That yeah, see, it's an innovation. It's an innovation to support politics. It's not even actually affirmed by
No,
any of the
it's
councils
not.
or
The
any of the
church is
canons.
made with human people. So politics is always part of the church because it's
Yeah,
because
yeah, the canons.
people because human people make up the church, man.
Yeah, the papacy was made
I'm
up to
not listen,
fund.
I'm
It
not
was
trying to
made up
make
to
excuses for it or
fund and to
anything.
recognize
The
politics.
people in
That's
the
why.
church, even as a collective, are not perfect, man. That doesn't that
Why
doesn't
does
violate the mystical
no
character of the
early
church.
historian agree that the papal jurisdiction was in the first millennium? Why does literally every single historian that I've read agree with that? The
Do you
only
know
people that
why? Maybe
disagree.
because, maybe because the church, in any reasonable sense, didn't actually extend universally. It was pretty localized
Oh,
and pretty
oh.
domestic.
Okay, he
You
never.
could you could
Okay, wait, wait,
refer
wait,
to
wait, wait.
any
1 second.
historical
Wait, wait, wait,
circumstances
wait, wait,
to
wait. One
justify
second.
that case
Stop, stop,
as
stop,
is the
stop, stop.
same.
You just said.
So
You just said.
excuse me,
Stop.
sir,
You said.
what were the first patriarchates that were operative? And when were they operative?
We would say Rome,
Excuse
Constantinople.
me, when did Alexandria and when did Antioch have a quote unquote primate
One
that was
second.
also
This is off
considered
the
a
point.
patriarch?
You made a
When did
claim.
this happen?
You made a claim. You made
When
a
did this
claim.
happen?
Your claim was that the papal jurisdiction was never exercised in the first millennium, right?
No, it didn't have to be
Okay.
exercised.
Satis
This
Satis
is part
Conditum
of the
disagrees.
development of doctrine.
Satis Conditum disagrees. Satis
No,
Conditum disagrees.
listen,
Satis
there's no
Conditum disagrees.
violation
Satis Conditum
of the
disagrees.
mystical character of the church or
Hey,
synodality
nigga. Satis
subsequently
Conditum disagrees.
because, listen, there are geographical
Satis Conditum
factors.
disagrees.
So do you believe? Right, right. So you're
Satis
gonna make
Conditum taught that the
hold on.
Pope exercise authority at all times.
No, so apophatic. Hypothetically, right? Do you so okay? So then, do you claim that the church has to be operative and declared in every corner of the world in order for Jesus's prophecy about the church to remain true?
Yep.
Then you're just simply wrong.
Satis Cognitum literally states that papal authority and jurisdiction and the exercising of his jurisdiction thereof was always recognized, and he actually always exercises authority according to that.
Well,
So
because
no,
it's
it's
his
not
by
true.
right.
Yeah, see, yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. You just said that he was not exercising his authority, right? And that it's a development of doctrine. If you read St. Vincent of
So
Lawrence in his
no.
commoditorium, he
So
actually
I've already
anathematizes you for teaching such
it
bullshit.
actually doesn't lend itself to that way of interpreting the
Yeah,
encyclical.
you're an
Secondly,
innovator. Who's a real
well, no.
schismatic?
Show me. So secondly, think of it like this, apophatic. Are you denying that the church was developed through history?
Oh, no.
Okay, so let me take a step back then. Okay, when was Antioch and Alexandria established?
It was established by Peter, Saint Peter,
Wrong,
Antioch.
wrong.
So Saint Peter didn't establish Antioch, you fucking dumbass. Are you serious? It literally says that he was a bishop in Antioch in the Bible. Yeah, you're dumb. You're
So
retarded.
when no, I'm very fucking aware, right? It moved from Jerusalem, Antioch to Rome. I'm totally understanding that.
Okay.
So, but where in either scripture or any quote unquote non-ecumenical council prior to the Council of Nicaea, when did they start establishing the patriarchates of Alexandria and Antioch?
I didn't I see you.
No, not jurisdictionally, but prior to that, they still recognize them as patriarchal sees.
Yes.
So
Of course.
clearly it was recognized, right, as having a synodal character prior to Nicaea. But Nicaea gave them jurisdictional authorities after that privilege of Rome.
Yeah, so
So it's a
if you
false
read Saint
dichotomy.
Vincent of
Hold on,
Lawrence and his
apophatic. It's a
commoditorium,
false dichotomy to interpret the Council of Nicaea in a way in which it didn't that those metropolitans didn't exist before, and that they were being set up with the same jurisdictional authority as an equal
this is
triarchy. No,
Let's just cope.
you're coping,
So
apophatic.
Saint
No,
Saint Vincent of
you're being
Lorentz in his
willfully obtuse at this point.
commonitorium
Apophatic,
states that
clearly.
three
So, I
things
mean,
are
apophatic. You're
necessary
aware
in
that
order to be
there were like what 7 or 8
Hey,
councils
fucking
prior to the
heretic.
Council of.
Can you help me judge
This
whether
is
you're a
amazing.
heretic or not? Saint
This is
Vincent of
amazing.
Lorentz in his commonitorium says, if a belief is proposed
You're
and
just
is
gish
new to
galloping at
you
this point.
that does not uphold university, antiquity, and consent, then it's not true. It's heresy. So I have a question. What you just agreed the Pope didn't exercise authority in antiquity, so you're a heretic. You just admitted that you're a heretic and you didn't even know it. Fucking retard. University, universality, and antiquity and consent. Consensus of the fathers, which is universality. Then we have antiquity, meaning it goes back very, very old. And then we have consent, multiple other people consenting to this being the case. This is how ecumenical councils are held: is that we look at what the fathers taught and what the consensus they
Listen,
are,
I
and
didn't
we look at what
say
the
that the
fathers taught of old.
pre-Nicene councils were ecumenical. I'm talking about the development of doctrine,
Hey, I know that, but
even
Saint
in the
Vincent of
case of
Lorentz
establishing, no,
says that
apophatic,
development of
even in the
doctrine is
case
an
that
explication of what
leads,
was
right,
always
leads to the
recognized. One
actual
second, one second,
jurisdictional
one second.
dispensation
Can you shut the
after the
fuck
See
up?
of Rome itself. No,
Saint Vincent of
apophatic.
Lorentz in his
You're still
commonitorium
special pleading. You're still special pleading, man.
clearly
You're
states
smarter than
that the
this.
development, hey retard, the development of doctrine is the explication of something always exercised and always taught throughout the church.
Correct.
Okay, now
Which
can you
was
show
the
where this is always
which
exercised?
was
Hey
papal
motherfucker, can you
primacy.
show me where this is always exercised in antiquity?
Everybody
Go ahead.
recognized that Peter was the
Yes,
first among
everybody
equals
recognized this,
from
but
the
they
beginning of the
fucking didn't.
church.
They fucking
But
didn't.
in
They
order for
fucking
that
didn't.
meaning to
They fucking did
develop,
not. They did not recognize
that
this. They
meaning
did
is
not
an
recognize
authentic
this.
development, apophatic.
They did not recognize
Papal
this. They did not
supremacy and
recognize
papal
this. You're coping.
primacy
You're
are
coping. You're
intertwined.
coping.
They're
You're
interrelated,
coping.
but they
You're
are
coping. You're
distinct.
coping. You're
One
coping. You're
has to
coping. You're
develop.
coping. You're coping. You're coping. You're coping. The papacy taught at
And
Vatican I and
you're a
Sidus
legalist,
Conatum was
and you're
never
also a
taught in the
crypto
first millennium,
precept.
never exercised in the first millennium, did
You're a
not have
crypto
universality, did
precept.
not have consent, and was not in antiquity, you
You
fucking bastard.
belong to a disobedient sect.
Yeah, you belong to a schismatic sect. That's why we have two original
No,
C's and you have
you're
one.
the ones that declared schism.
You have three original
That's the
C's. We have two.
history.
Listen. You
You
have one
declared
original C. We
schism.
have three. You have one original C. We have three. Who's the real schismatic? Three original C's recommend orthodoxy. One original C recommends this papist view that was only meant for politics and
Quality
that's given into
supersedes
ecumenism.
quantity.
Yeah, you're a fucking dumbass. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Quality supersedes quantity.
You're a cope. You're coping. You're coping. You can't present anything
God
else.
does
So you just
not
gotta cope.
care about how many souls. He cares about the quality of souls.
Suck that fucking copium, bitch. Take that cope. It's quite evident.
It's painful, but it's true. You know I'm right.
Yeah, it's not true at all. You were just coping.
Keep projecting.
You know it's painful not having your belief be in the antiquity and not the consensus of the fathers on any dispute.
You're dire right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, dude. No, this is an Anglican source I'm getting this from. I mean, this is just so retarded. I mean, do you even know why the papal authority was brought up? Like, the entire reason was because of Saint Photios and Pope Nicholas the First trying to exercise his authority over them. He was like, "No, you can't disagree with me because I'm the Pope. I'm the Pope. You can't disagree with me." That was his entire point. Don't disagree with me on the filioque. I'm the vicar of Christ. I'm the Pope. I'm the supreme judge. I have authority over you and every other jurisdiction. I can decide whatever the hell I want. That's the entire point of Pope Nicholas I. The Orthodox were like, what the fuck? That violates like every canon that we said before first, and we always knew that the extent of your jurisdiction was only imperial, and you're not the imperial city, right? Any longer. The only time that the popes thought that it could be Billy Badass is when Constantinople was in decline. That's the only
You
time.
have to presuppose that any
You
jurisdiction
have
of
to
the
presuppose
church. No,
papal
no, no, no.
primacy.
You're literally going to have to presuppose then that the jurisdiction is territorial.
You have to
And he
presuppose the
cannot.
papacy in all
Right,
of the
that's a
canons.
straw man, and that's actually one of the least plausible interpretations of canon number 6.
So why does it say all one
Do you
bishop
believe
cannot go
so?
into another
Okay,
bishop's
I'm going to put it to
jurisdiction
you as
without the consent of the
apophatic.
other bishop and teacher?
Do you believe in the mystical church?
Yep. I believe in the visible church. Yeah, represented by the
No.
Holy
Do you
Patriarch.
believe in the mystical church, mystical
Yeah,
body
the
of the
mystical
church?
church. Yes, yes.
Do you believe that there's no distinction? That the
There's
distinction
a
is merely a virtual one and not a real
yeah,
distinction.
yeah, virtual.
Okay. So you're not a Protestant.
No, no, I'm not a Gnostic. That believes in like the invisible mystical church bullshit.
Yeah.
But the point is
Listen,
that
listen. I am, you see, here's the thing. I'm all for the efforts of synodality. You've heard me say this in other contexts, right? That's what actually
right.
needs to be achieved. We need a unifying of like each
So
intellectual,
here's
even
my
to the point of
proposition.
like intellectual traditions. We need that. I'm serious.
Here's
Like
here's my proposition.
I spent a lot of my master's dissertation literally studying the Eastern Silver Age theologians.
Here's the proposition.
And a
Okay,
lot
here's
of
the
them
proposition.
actually don't agree with Palamos, by the way.
Here's the proposition. Retract.
They actually
Retract
agree with the
Vatican One.
Scholastics, and I'm
One
sure you're
second.
aware of
I
this as
I
well.
agree with the Scholastics, and St. Gregory Palamas agrees with the Scholastics. But
But at the end of
retract.
the day, you still need a final tribunal. And
Listen,
that
listen.
tribunal has actual real consequences and real authority.
Let me say this. If there's gonna be
If it's an app,
synodality, if there's gonna be synodality, retract Status Conatum, retract Vatican One, and retract Vatican Two. Either
no, I don't
way,
think Vatican One has to be retracted.
okay, and then no, we're not.
And
We're not.
satis
Conatum, which was the
cogitum
basis, uh,
or
yeah,
whatever's,
the basis for Vatican.
it's just an encyclical.
No, it's actually universally binding. It's the basis for Vatican
No,
One. It's the basis for
it's
Vatican
just
One.
an
It's the basis for
encyclical.
Vatican One. It's the
No,
basis
it's
for
not.
Vatican.
It's not binding in the same way as defeated
Nigga,
doctrine.
yes it is. It
It
is
can
100%
have
binding. It
it
is
can
100%
have
binding, you fucking dumbass.
imprecisions.
Hey, Invictus. Is Satis Conatum binding upon all Roman
No,
Catholics
dude,
since it's the
stop
basis for Vatican
appealing.
One?
Dude, stop, please, man.
Dude, you're such a
Don't
retard. In
don't
order to
Wait,
disrespect me
defend
like
your
that.
papal position, your fucking
wait.
papist position, because
We,
I gave multiple scenarios where your papal position, as taught in Satis Conatum, was not the case. In order to
It's
defend
just
it,
an
you literally have to
encyclical.
say that it's not binding. That's crazy. You
It
have to say
is
that
no,
wait,
the
I said
doctrine.
it is binding, but it's not fully binding as in de fide doctrine.
It
The
100% is. It
only
100% is. It
the
100% is. It
only
100% is. It
the
100%
only
is.
fully
It
binding
100% is
statements from the
binding upon your
church.
conscience, and upon your mind, and upon
Excuse
your
me,
will.
sir.
You
Right.
fucking
Now you're
nerd.
just making an artificial distinction where I
Yeah,
didn't
this
make
is
it.
copium. You're
I
literally
didn't say it
coping.
wait.
wasn't
Let me
binding. It's
This
only
entire
binding
POC that me and
with
you have
I
had
am.
has just
it's
been you
I
only
am.
coping the
binding with
entire time
docility and
over the papacy.
sincerity.
That's all it
Wait,
has been.
It
Abysmal.
doesn't
I have
mean that
given
it
in
can have
multiple different
intellectual
Apophatic.
errors
examples,
within it.
multiple different
Wait,
canons.
Having
wait,
said that, I don't
wait,
believe satis cogitatum actually has intellectual errors in it. It
wait.
could be further clarified.
Let me continue. So what is
That's
Spanish?
what the
So
church is trying to do right now, man. If it
wait.
wasn't
So
true, then why are we still doing ecumenical efforts with the Eastern Orthodox? This is all good.
wait. I'm so confused. What are you guys
Do you
on
not,
about?
apophatic, do you not have hope in the commemoration of the
Oh,
Council of Nicaea after
I have
1700 years?
I have hope that we literally retract Vatican One, Vatican Two, and Status Conatum
That's
in
not going to
all the
happen.
papal
San-
encyclicals.
what is Sanus Conatum? Can you give me the
It is
context?
the papal
It's
encyclical
Pope
of Pope
Leo's,
Leo.
yeah, Pope Leo the 13th's fucking
Oh,
encyclical.
if it is so, when the papal encyclical is
Like,
instituted, it is
have you not heard me
okay.
apophatic when I already said, like, when it
Let
comes
him
to like
answer. Let him
whether it's
answer. Let
traditionis
him answer. He
custonis,
gives
which is
better
just a
answers.
motu proprio, or
Uh,
whether
He gives
it's
better answers.
no, hold on, no, we're having this conversation right now, man. Stop
Yeah,
trying
and
to
you're
deflect.
coping
You're
right now. And you're
obfuscating,
coping right
man.
now.
I'm
I
trying to have this
proved that
conversation
throughout the
with you.
first millennium,
We've
the
been
Pope
having this
never
I'm
conversation
exercised
for
the
the past
trying
gospel
to be
fucking.
authority
the
over the
middleman.
East, and the
I'm
East
trying
Just
to
never
stay out of it.
recognized it.
Invictus, just stay out of it, okay? Like,
I'm trying
so
to be the middleman.
apophatic,
Invictus,
right?
I proved to him that the East
When it
never
when no,
recognized canonicity, and now he's
yo yo
claiming it's
yo
an innovation.
like
He's agreeing with
apophatic,
me.
you've heard me in other contexts, like when it comes to like laudatum si, right? Laudato si, excuse me. Like, I agree with a lot of what the Pope is saying, intellectually speaking, right? But I read the encyclicals myself, and I try to understand them with sincerity and docility, as if I am reading a letter, quote unquote, and pastoral teaching from from a superior. I do. But that doesn't mean that I'm intellectually bound to all of
Yes,
his
you are.
theses.
Yes, you
If
are.
there are erroneous applications of
Invictus, can you
doctrine,
make a
I
claim? I think
can
you're better at
I
defending
can't
this.
disagree with the Pope.
Invictus,
When
can you
an,
better?
There's
when a papal claim
binding
is
doesn't mean binding in
Can you
every
shut the
single
fuck up,
sense.
Abismo? Can you shut the fuck up? Go ahead.
No, we're having this conversation.
Go ahead,
Are
Invictus.
you saying you don't want to converse with me anymore, apophatic?
No, no, I did not.
No, just say that
You've
you are, and
shown.
then I will respect you, and we can
I
move
said
on.
I am not wanting to converse with you because you are taking tons of copium in. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Now,
fine. Okay, so then it
Invictus.
sounds like, okay, so your answer is yes. You don't want to converse with me anymore
I got
on
you
this
to
topic,
admit that it's
right?
innovation
So no,
When a paper.
apophatic. So clarify once and for all.
Oh.
You do not want to converse with me, correct?
on this topic. Yes.
Okay, fine. We'll move on.
Okay.
Yo,
Invictus.
At least allow me
apathetic
the
dude.
respect enough to respect you. Like, what the
Uh,
fuck?
Okay, let me
yo,
continue.
guys,
So,
what do you think about
oh, I cannot speak.
LGBTQ plus,
All right,
bro?
Invictus, go. Yeah,
What do
shut
you
the fuck
think
up,
about?
cat licker. Go
Okay.
Invictus.
So I'm not good on this type of issue, but when the papal encyclical is made, as he is speaking as a universal preacher, if it is not universally received by the whole church, and because I'm a papal maximus, then then yes, you if it's not universally received, it is not binding. If if it has erroneous teaching or something that contradicts the Catholic faith, it would not be universally received by the church, meaning that it would not be binding on the souls of the
So
church.
let me ask you a question, Invictus.
Yeah.
Where does any of your canons or councils state this?
Let me see if I can figure it out. If I'm wrong, by the way, if I cannot find one, then just don't take my argument. Take it with a grain of
Okay.
salt.
Yeah, I would love to see anywhere where it says that the Pope, because the Pope can't teach erroneous teaching in his encyclical letters. It's a papal clarification.
Yeah, paper clarification, but from what this is by the way what's from what I know. I'm not sure if there's a canon statement. This is from
Did
what
you get
I've
this from
learned.
Agapho?
Not from Agatha, no.
Who would you get this from?
I got this. I remember reading a source on it like a year ago.
From a sede? Because sedes are the ones that say that, right?
So
They're
these
the
are the
ones that
ones
say
who.
this. Yeah, so they're the ones that like try to argue that.
Oh right,
In the
Daz was a
book called
city.
the Set of a Contest Delusion, it actually has a section totally against the point you just made. So that's the reason why I'm asking.
No, Daz was a city when he sent me that, so it's probably city.
Oh, okay, right. It's probably a sede, right?
Daz was a city when he talked about this, and I think I remember Agatha talking about it as well.
Right.
But
Yeah. Yeah, and they're
so I
sedes.
could. Oh,
Why
oh
do you
shit.
why do you
So
trust sedes for your information on Roman Catholicism?
listen, I thought this was a I remember reading this from like an older canon. Or maybe
Oh,
I'm
canon.
fucking wrong. Either way, you know what? For this I will concede. I will concede because I do
You
not
know
know
that
much.
like a pope's decree doesn't have to have the consent of all, right? Like for example, ex cathedra statements don't require the consent like of all people. They're
Correct.
like all people are bound to it. And even when there's not
Correct.
an ex
But here's
cathedra
the thing:
statement according to Lumen Gentium,
ex cathedra statements, right, have to be with the whole ecclesia.
according to According to Lumen Gentium Decree 16, it clearly states that even when the Pope's not speaking ex cathedra, statements that he make, whether it be in a document or a letter, have to be held to with both your mind and will. So it's listen, dude, you're bound to that, all right. And the point is that I would rather trust a Pope's teaching on what papism is than a random layman, right?
This fact.
So in
For the sake of
status
this argument, for the sake of this, I do not know
Which
the answer.
paragraph
So
are you referring to?
here.
It's not.
I'm,
It's
I'm not
not both mind and will. By the way, just so you know.
It is.
The prophet is a layman.
Binding
The
has real
prophet is a
distinctions
layman.
within it, and it's
Hate to
already
break it.
established
The
by the
prophet's
history
a
of the church.
layman.
So when you try to
Uh-huh.
sneak in it, when you're like literally apophatic, you're trying to smuggle in, oh, it is binding on both your mind and will. It doesn't state
Can
that
you read
at
this in
all.
the side chat, Invictus? Can you read this?
sure. The religious submission of mind and will must be shown in a special way to the authentic magisterium of the Roman Pontiff, even when he is not
This is
speaking ex
true.
cathedra.
Wait,
That
repeat
is,
that. Repeat. Wait. Repeat that.
the religious submission of mind and will must be shown in a special way to the authentic magisterium of the Roman Pontiff, even when he is not speaking ex cathedra.
Okay, so you have to submit your mind and will to the authentic magisterium of the Roman
Right, but
bishop,
what look
even when
look
he's not
what it
speaking ex
says.
cathedra.
His
Now
mind
read
and
next. Now read
will
next.
in the matter
Now
may be
read.
known either from the character of the
Now
documents,
read next. Now
from his
read next.
frequent repetition of the same doctrine, or from his manner of
Now read the.
speaking.
Now read the next. Read the next,
Not
Invictus. Read it.
all, you
That's
see, but here's the
Read
thing.
it.
Not
Shut up, Abysmal.
all
Shut up,
of the
Abysmal. You're coping.
documents. No, no,
We're
no,
going
no, no.
through this.
You're the one
We're
that's
not gonna let you
coping.
butcher this.
His
We're not gonna
mind
let you
and
butcher
will
this. We're
in
not
the
gonna let you
matter
butcher
may be
this.
known either from the character of the
We're
documents.
not gonna let you butcher this. Go
Dude,
ahead,
this is
Invictus, and read the rest.
literally
Read the
presupposing that the
rest.
documents are not the
Read the
same in
rest.
that
character.
Read the rest.
It's
that
not the same in
that
character,
Read
apophatic.
the
You're
rest.
being willfully
Read the
obtuse.
rest.
You're being
that
willfully
is it
obtuse
must
and
be
you're being
shown.
You're literally too smart for
Read
this
read the
apophatic.
rest, just like over
The
You're too
interrupt him.
smart for
Yeah.
this apophatic.
that is, it must be shown in a such way that his supreme magisterium is acknowledged with reverence, the judgments made by him and sincerely adhered to, according to his manifest mind and will. His mind and will in the manner may be known either from the character of the documents, from his frequent repetition of the same doctrine, or from his manner of speaking.
So it says right here from the character of the document. So for example,
Correct.
if you
It's
read a
dependent on the
document,
character of the documents.
if you read a doc
Not all the papal documents are binding in the same way.
motherfucker, we're talking about a papal encyclical, all right? So a papal encyclical is a enough of a character of a document to where you
No, it's
must
not.
submit
That's not
your
the way
mind
it's
and
defined
will.
by the church.
Invictus, don't you think it's pretty clear what it's saying here? You think it's
I'm
pretty
No.
pretty
clear?
sure it's saying that we must submit to the Roman Pontiff when being universal preacher, or ex cathedra statements or ecumenical councils. Or
Even when he's not, but even when he's not speaking ex cathedra, though,
Well, yeah, obviously you have to submit to him if he's being the universal preacher.
and you have to submit your mind and will to his teachings according to the character of the documents that he writes.
Correct.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, very simple. Cope.
But
Sad,
don't
fun,
disagree with
binding.
Every encyclical is not binding on both mind and will. It's not.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Totally.
Well, to be fair, when a
Encyclicals,
paper,
generally speaking, are only binding on the will, not on the
to
not on your
The
intellect.
amount of papal lawyering that you have to do in order to go
no,
Excuse me.
full.
no,
Not all
apophatic,
encyclicals are binding on the will, it's only binding on the
Invictus,
intellect.
you joined very late. Before you joined, we were having a debate over like multiple scenarios within history where it proves that the canonicity of the Pope was not recognized, and how Constantinople exercised the exact same authority given to Rome at the
No,
Council of Sparta.
the
And this
infallible
guy lawyered
character,
his, he
as
tried to
defined in
lawyer his way
Vatican
out of
I,
it and
does
got
not
fucking
extend to
duped, bro. He got
every single
fucking
papal
bonked.
document. That's not true.
wait,
This guy's dumb.
wait. So to be fair, Abismo does have something to do. Is saying some truth here, because sometimes papal
Papal
encyclicals.
infallibility only applies to ex cathedra with the whole church and on faith and morals
No,
only.
well, no. Let
It's
me
very
finish. So
narrowly defined.
So sometimes people in encyclicals, he is correct, are not binding, but most of the time they're kind of their whole purpose is
Do you
usually
think
to be
papal
binding.
encyclical on a council is binding because it clarifies what a council is teaching?
No shit, that's what they did with the what Sixth Ecumenical Council when the one of the popes.
That's
So
actually
we have
not
this.
true because you have just as many cases where the encyclical actually fails to interpret and
At a
also
council?
contradict.
Which
The encyclicals
what papal
themselves
encyclical
contradict
at a
with
council?
other.
What
Well,
papal
here's the
encyclical at a
thing.
council?
There has been no ecumenical. Excuse me. There has been no encyclical that either has contradictions in itself or contradicts other popes' encyclicals on a particular council, or excuse me, the council's interpretation. Usually, it's in the form of a motu proprio, which is only binding on the intellect but not the will.
Uh,
Uh,
s- um,
Motu
so on
proprio is less than an encyclical.
well,
Like,
in
here's the
Thomas
thing,
Aquinas'
man.
theology,
Like,
intellect is identical to will,
here's
so
the
it is
thing,
actually binding on
apophatic.
both.
Here's the thing, apophatic. When I usually
I
talk
know.
about Jay Dyer with other Catholics, I do bring him up quite often, right, in order to demonstrate that, hey, look, Jay Dyer's points are very valid, right, but they just aren't sound.
This guy's in a diorite.
Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Invictus,
believe
before you
he's right.
joined,
You
I
know,
like
it is
duped this
fucking
guy so
confusing.
hard to where he could not
It
even
is fucking
speak.
confusing, but just to
He couldn't even
reduce
answer
that
it, so he
all
literally,
papal
you know what
documents
he
are
would do?
binding in the
Oh
same
my
way as
gosh,
de
I'm gonna
fide
call you
doctrine
Invictus.
is a serious mischaracterization, is form of special pleading,